Martin Ødegaard just unlocked a scary new level.
Here's Martin Ødegaard with a chance for 3!
For the first time in a long time, Arsenal's captain looks like a player who has finally been set free. After a season interrupted by injuries and questions about whether Ødegaard was still capable of reaching his highest level, something has changed.
In the Community Shield, we saw a player who looked revitalised.
And Arsenal's Community Shield win over Manchester City, plus their Premier League opener against Coventry, are already giving us the answer. He's covering more ground, he's winning more duels, he's getting into dangerous areas more often, and with Bruno Guimarães or Declan Rice behind him doing the defensive work, Ødegaard suddenly has the freedom to become far more aggressive attacking-wise. So, what exactly changed? By the end of this video, you'll understand the physical transformation, the tactical adjustment, and the mental shift behind this new version of Ødegaard. Because this isn't just Ødegaard playing well again, it's Ødegaard finally becoming the player Arsenal always believed he could be. For years, the criticism of this Arsenal team was that they couldn't create in open play, that they needed a corner or a free kick to actually score.
Like Mikel Arteta had his critics. I was certainly one of them.
That excuse is gone. One Premier League game in,
3-0 today against newly promoted Coventry.
On top of that Community Shield win over City, and Arsenal are already scoring at will from open play. No set pieces required.
Arsenal rocked up and looked ready, and they rolled over Manchester City 3-0. And probably could have had several more as well.
Look at the Coventry game. 3 goals, all from open play, all wrapped up by the 49th minute. Havertz got one, Saka got one, and Ødegaard got one. Coventry never had an answer. Here's a stat that should worry every other team in this league. That Coventry game marked only the second time since December 2024 that Saka, Havertz, and Ødegaard all started a Premier League match together. Injuries and squad rotation kept pulling that trio apart for over a year.
The second time since December 2024, Arsenal started a game with Kai Havertz, Martin Ødegaard, and Bukayo Saka. That's alarming, right? Whether that's due to injuries or whether that's due to rotation or whatever that's down to. That's a really alarming stat.
Now, think about what each of those 3 actually does. Saka is Arsenal's best attacking option, full stop. Better than anyone else they can put on that right wing. Havertz makes the whole team tick in a way his backup just doesn't. Dropping deep, dragging defenders around, opening space for everyone else. And Ødegaard is the guy who gets that ball moving quicker than anybody else in that midfield. Put those 3 on the pitch together and Arsenal aren't just a good team anymore. They've become a completely different problem to solve.
I do think when we're talking about Arsenal playing the best brand of football they can, those 3 players are extremely crucial to it.
Now, rewind a week to the Man City game, because this is where it got scary.
I mean, Martin Ødegaard, the confidence in him to turn his man. I haven't seen Ødegaard do that in years.
Ødegaard took a touch, sat Gianluigi Donnarumma down with it, and rolled the ball into an empty net like it was training.
He absolutely humiliated Gigi Donnarumma with that goal. He could have walked the ball in, he sat him down, Jeff.
His numbers that day, 100% of his take-ons completed. 74 touches, dictating the game from start to finish.
Martin Ødegaard was absolutely sensational. He was, guys. Martin Ødegaard was running the game.
Part of that comes down to what's happening out on the left. Christos Solis doesn't waste time.
If they've got a player like Solis on that left-hand side who's decent, that's a big upgrade.
He gets the ball and goes straight at defenders instead of taking 5 touches to figure out his next move. That directness means Ødegaard doesn't have to manufacture every single chance himself anymore. He's got another outlet who can win a game on his own. And here's the tactical piece that ties it together. Ødegaard now lives in that pocket just outside the box, the space between the other team's midfield and defense that coaches call Zone 14. Last season he dropped too deep, trying to get on the ball by going backward instead of finding that space up top. Now he stays higher, closer to goal, in exactly the spot where he can actually hurt teams. None of this fluid, free-scoring football happens without something else changing first though, and that's the engine underneath all of it. The physical shift in Ødegaard's own game is what makes everything else possible. Goals and slick passing are one thing, but none of that matters if Ødegaard is still getting shoved off the ball the way he was last season. A midfielder who can't win the physical fights gets exposed eventually, no matter how good his touch is. And that criticism was fair for a long time. Last season, Ødegaard sat in the bottom 10% of Premier League midfielders for duels won. Bottom 10% for successful dribbles too. Defenders knew they could get tight to him, put a shoulder in, and he wouldn't fight through it. That made him an easy target for anyone who wanted to say he didn't belong at the top level anymore. Compare that to what showed up against Manchester City. Ødegaard posted the best ground duel numbers of any Arsenal player on the pitch that day, second only to Mateo Kovacic across both teams. That's not a small jump, that's a different player showing up in the same shirt. There's one passage of play that shows exactly what changed. Ødegaard gave away a sloppy pass. City broke forward through Phil Foden. And for a second, it looked like a bad moment turning into a worse one. But instead of jogging back and hoping his teammates cleaned it up, Ødegaard sprinted the length of the pitch, arrived just in time to nutmeg Elliot Anderson, and won the ball straight back for Arsenal. 25 seconds, end to end, covering ground most attacking midfielders never bother to cover. That kind of recovery run isn't just about effort, it's tactical. Arsenal's whole defensive setup against City depends on the midfield closing gaps fast, keeping everything compact so City can't find space between the lines. If Ødegaard doesn't sprint back and close that gap himself, City get an extra option in a dangerous area. Last season, that gap probably stays open. This season, he's the one closing it. Some of that has to come from what happened over the summer. Ødegaard had a strong World Cup with Norway, helping them reach the quarterfinals, which meant more competitive minutes and more belief walking into this season, not less.
Coming off a brilliant World Cup campaign for the Norwegian side and the national team at the World Cup, leading him to a quarterfinal, this could be a massive season for Martin Ødegaard.
Usually, a long tournament run wears a player down. For Ødegaard, it looked like it topped him up instead. And there's a squad around him now. Arteta isn't relying on Ødegaard to play 60 games a season anymore, running him into the ground the way previous campaigns did. With the depth Arsenal have built, he can be managed properly, rested when needed, kept fresh for the games that matter most. But fitness and rotation only explain so much. None of this holds up without something that happened in his head after May. The physical numbers tell you what changed on the pitch. They don't tell you why it happened right now, this season, and not last year when the tools to fix it were already there. For years, Ødegaard carried the weight of being Arsenal's captain, while chasing something the club hadn't touched in over 2 decades, a Premier League title. Every big game got framed around whether this squad and this captain could finally get it done. That's a specific kind of pressure. It sits on you differently than normal football pressure. Now compare that to how he looks this season.
Everything felt easy for them. The rhythm was back to Martin Ødegaard, the tempo dictator. It all came so easily.
The title is already in the cabinet. Nobody needs him to prove the project works anymore, because it worked. That's the difference between playing to survive criticism and playing with nothing left to prove. And the criticism was real last season. 1 goal and 6 assists in a year Arsenal actually won the league.
The Ødegaard's numbers are relatively poor in the modern game.
Pundits and fans openly called for Eberechi Eze, or even Declan Rice, to take over his position in that final third. For a captain of a title-winning team, that's about as public as scrutiny gets. Winning seems to have knocked that fear loose. He's turning defenders now, the kind of instinctive move that only works when you're not scared of losing the ball and getting blamed for it. He's holding possession under pressure instead of rushing to get rid of it. That's a player trusting his own decisions again, instead of second-guessing every touch.
He's a player that likes to take care of the ball. He looks after it, and he doesn't want to fire it into danger zones without care and attention.
There were also reports of friction friction between Ødegaard and Arteta last season. Tension that never fully made it into the public view, but clearly existed behind the scenes. Getting back to this level looks less like coincidence and more like a response, a way of answering that pressure directly on the pitch instead of in a press conference. Which raises the next question. If Ødegaard is already playing at this level, largely on his own creative shoulders, what happens when Bruno Guimarães is fully up to speed, playing behind him? Put it all together, and you get a version of Ødegaard covering every blade of grass and still having the quality to finish teams off once he gets there. That combination, the engine and the end product together, is what makes him dangerous in a completely different way than before. 2 performances in already, a Community Shield final and a Premier League opener, and there's no sign of the old inconsistency creeping back in. No games where he looks like a passenger, just a captain playing like he's got something to prove all over again. Except this time nobody's asking him to. And once Bruno Guimarães settles fully into that midfield, sharing the creative load, Ødegaard won't have to carry Arsenal by himself, the way he's been doing these opening weeks.
But with Bruno in the team, you've got a player that drops into the pocket, gives someone an option to receive, and equally, he will drop deep and look to play that vertical pass straight through the line and give it to a player who equally wants to receive inside the block.
If this is the new baseline for Martin Ødegaard, not a hot streak, not a couple of good games, but the standard going forward, the rest of the Premier League has a serious problem on its hands.